Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me during Catalyst's Gem and 10. The topic for this month is giving and receiving feedback and how we can do that better. I'm Rebecca Rose. I'm a certified veterinary technician, and I am also the president and founder of Catalyst Veterinary Practice Consultants. Thank you for joining me. So let's just talk about real quickly for a moment team development, because that's what the majority of my programs are developed around team development. And what are the benefits of that? You may be asking, why do I even care? Why is it important for you as a manager, a team lead, a veterinary technician to even be interested in team development? Well, in my experience, it's actually the driver of veterinary practices. So benefits could include definitely professional growth for the individual and professional growth for the team. We get into our career in hopes of growing and expanding and being supported in that. So when there is professional development and opportunities for personal growth within a veterinary practice, there's going to be higher retention. People will enjoy it. There'll be fulfillment. So that is one of my biggest drivers. And also increased team engagement. Because when people are successful and succeeding, they're collaborating and the synergy continues to grow. And it just feeds on each other, that positive attitude, that support, the opportunity to be a part of a team that is really successful. Very exciting indeed. And when this is in play, that teams are reaching higher levels in their career, reaching higher levels of advancement and engagement and satisfaction, the client service will be improved and enhanced. And definitely the bottom line here is patient care will be improved as well. When you have a consistent team delivering patient care, that is the best for the pet, obviously, best for the pet owner, the veterinary team, and the veterinary hospital. So that's why I feel team development is so very important. So let's take it to the next step in professional growth and talk about that in team development. Certainly, feedback is part of that growth and professional development. Feedback is defined as information about performance of a task that can be used as a basis for improvement. I was recently at a Veterinary Medical Association up in Montana, and it was wonderful to be there. It was great to be engaging with mixed animal practices, general practices, and specialty people. Loved it, absolutely loved it. And in that 4-hour session, it seemed like feedback and giving feedback was a continual conversation that we were having. And so I simply asked at one point in time, who feels like they are good at feedback? And there was one hand went up like right away. Yay, he felt he did a great job. And the other few that went up were very reluctant. And this is not surprising. We learn how to do reading, writing, and arithmetic. Similar to active listening, we aren't taught how to give feedback. And so we feel ill prepared to do that with a veterinary team. Thankfully, some of people do it very well and continue. Yay, good for you. But the fact of the matter is, the majority of us could do it better and learn to do it better and practice it. So today's topics will be feedback as part of a practice culture. We'll offer 5 tips in delivering feedback and then even receiving feedback, because this is a give and take street, people. This is not just one way. If we're giving feedback, we need to be able to receive it just as gracefully. So consider this within your veterinary practice. Is feedback a part of your culture? And could it be that feedback is a negative thing? Oh my God, they're coming at me. They're down my throat again. I don't feel like I'm worthy. This is not a good environment. I'm stressed out all the time. Ugh. Or is feedback accepted as a natural progression in professional development? I'm going to read a quote from Dr. Karen Smith's book, Team Satisfaction Pays Organizational Development for Practice Success. So she says that giving and receiving feedback is uncomfortable at first. The solution, learn good techniques and do this often so it becomes part of the practice's culture. In work environments where feedback is continual and appropriate, most people expect and welcome the opportunity to improve. So it can be continual. And everybody on the team needs to feel that their feedback is encouraged and welcomed. Feedback is definitely something to stress during training. And how can your trainers be doing that better? And obviously, your team should be and will be learning new skills. So when that does occur, that's an appropriate time for feedback. So here comes 5 tips in delivery. And another quote, this is from Dr. Jane Shaw. Filtering out the negative distortion and selecting the helpful information takes patience and practice. It is a delicate dance of determining what we heard and what was actually meant. Isn't that true? It's a delicate dance. How am I interpreting this? What was actually being said? How does all that come into play? And keep in mind through all of this, feedback is simply information. It's information to grow and develop on. Here are our 5 tips. So creating a safety space. Your team needs to feel that they are trusted and supported, and that there needs to be comfort in this. Ideally, teams trust each other, allowing for continual feedback in performance and professional development. Opportunities that build confidence and skills are the best. Approaching the teachable moment in the spirit of support and improvement is far better than being mean or trying to prove someone right or wrong. I had a conversation with a veterinarian the other day around that. And he was simply of the mindset that it's getting done wrong. They should just be able to do it right. And I'm just going to give them that feedback in the moment. And I could just sense how he did that. And that wasn't a safety space or place at all. So creating this space in which there's comfort and one-on-one is ideal in a quiet space. We will talk about in the moment a little bit more, but appropriate feedback is one-on-one and it's sincere and it's comforting and it's supportive. But be specific. Number 2, sugarcoating feedback may create this as being very confusing for the team member receiving it. So as an example, Casey, you do a great job, but I wish you would arrive on time. That's not a real good example of giving feedback. You're obviously trying to say you're doing okay. However, this needs to be changed. And you're really not being or articulating what has to happen. So a better example could be, Casey, I noticed you showed up late this morning. Is anything wrong? It is important you arrive on time, punching in at 8 o'clock in the morning. Now, this is obviously allowing some more volleying and feedback. And what you're wanting to do here is to verify the circumstances that are going on. So before I give you feedback as a manager, I need to understand what's happening, what's going on. Feedback should be timely. The example I give here is that if you're waiting to offer feedback only during performance reviews, that is inappropriate, and I just think it's downright rude. So feedback is in the moment, if appropriate. As the example I give in the handout is that you may have a new hire, and when that training is occurring, you have explained to the new team member that the sterile strip indicator goes on top of the surgery pack. Okay, that's great. As you're stepping into a surgery with that new hire and the trainer is there as well, we notice that the sterile strip indicator is on the bottom. So in that moment, in that time, the trainer would explain why that needs to be changed, how the reasoning for that. So you can see that the feedback is then, and that's when that new hire can be far more successful instead of waiting 3 months down the line during that last 90-day period saying, well, you did this wrong, and that sterile strip indicator was wrong one day, and one day you didn't punch in until 9:30 and you walked in the door at 9 o'clock. That's not right. Take care of those informative, teachable moments in a timely fashion. So tip number 4, feeling unfairly criticized, and this can happen. So there will be times when a team member feels they have been unfairly criticized. Inaccurate or ungrounded feedback leads to resentment. And then I'm going to quote this gentleman from David Lee in an article he wrote, "Do you know how to give constructive feedback?" This might not seem to be a big problem for bosses from the old school philosophy of they'll just have to get over it. It is, however, a big problem because of the human desire for justice and for retribution. So in the case of a team member feeling unfairly criticized, as a manager, we need to allow for that conversation to unfold. We just can't walk away and say, hey, that's just how it is. No opportunity for clarification. Boom, that's it. As a manager, it's our role to understand what's going on and finding that common ground and the solutions. So tip number 5 is catching them doing something right. This is equally as important, folks. So giving reassuring, encouraging feedback is important. Catching your team members doing things right is in a positive way, uplifting everybody. You as a manager feel good, the person receiving it's feeling good, and if your team member thrives in that environment of being acknowledged, especially in front of other team members, then do it there. Now, if you have a team member that does not like to be acknowledged in that fashion in front of other team members, which does occur, know your team member and do not do that to them because it's not appropriate for them. So those are the 5 tips for offering feedback. So let's flip the coin and talk about receiving feedback. And again, I'm going to reiterate this idea that feedback is information. And being a veterinary team lead or veterinarian or manager, we need to ask and seek feedback as well. So when we do receive feedback, we need to be open and see this as an opportunity for personal and professional development. Accept this with an open heart and open mind. And remember what Dr. Jane Shaw said too about how this takes patience and practice. So even as bosses or managers or leads or veterinary owners, being open to feedback is leading by example. And there is no greater way of doing that. When team members feel comfortable in bringing to you feedback, that is great for the team member who's doing that because they probably have beads of sweat on their forehead. And everybody will be watching you as the veterinarian owner, leader, manager to see how you react and respond to that. So this is definitely an opportunity for leading through example by receiving feedback. So as a way to truly understand what's going on in that feedback, you may clarify. And one of the ways of doing that is saying, what I hear you saying is this, boom, 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 dot, 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 dot. Or I understand this is what you're trying to tell me. There's other ways of doing this. This is called mirroring the conversation. You basically give a synopsis of what the person just told you to make sure that you really caught it, that you got it, that you understand what they're trying to tell you. And be sure to keep your emotions in check when you are on the receiving end of feedback. There will be moments in time as a veterinarian manager, team lead, or boss kind of person that you should be and will be soliciting feedback. That takes grit. It shows integrity. Again, leading by example. And people will be watching your reactions and response. And to do this on a regular basis is important too. I encourage folks in middle and upper management to do performance reviews just like everybody else on the team. And that owners should be seeking feedback in how they're doing. And that's really putting yourself out there. That's making yourself vulnerable. And in that vulnerability, you're building trust with your team. This is a great place to be. So consider this. You've got this. I know you do. This may be a conversation or a topic you've never considered having before. When I put together these Gem in 10 videos, I'm creating ways for you to reach out to your team. So you can create this and download it and offer it during a team meeting. This is a great way of utilizing the tools for success we are giving you. So in this idea of feedback, it is information, and sometimes it gets distorted. So through practicing and being patient, we can be better at giving and receiving feedback. Look at this as an improvement and part of your practice culture, where every team member is encouraged, elevated, understands their roles in receiving and giving feedback. Remember that there's 5 tips in delivering feedback: creating a safe place, being specific, offering timely feedback, feeling unfairly criticized and allowing for that time to unfold and be heard, and then catching your team members doing things right. And creating and understanding our side of it as management, receiving feedback and soliciting it is quite a way of leading through example and following through with it. And it shows that you are trying to improve and fully diving into and engaging in this idea of personal and professional development through feedback. Fantastic. Thank you again for joining me for this Gem in 10. You are welcome to forward questions. You may reach me at RebeccaRoseCVT@gmail.com. But please visit our website as well. We have a number of blogs that are interesting and help for veterinary team development as well. Thanks again. Have a great day.